Hello, Gambit lovers. Here I am again, and today we will talk about this gambit. And the name is Humphrey or Humphrey Bogart Gambit or Bronstein Gambit or Bullfrog Gambit. It has many names, but it's a gambit, as I'm talking about all kinds of gambits. And now I'm going to show you more directly how it looks like. In this gambit, if I am playing against a strong opponent or opponent, whatever, I play d4, for instance. It's a positional, quite logical starting point. And black, or 50% or so, plays knight to f6. And then, if I play, for instance, g2 to g4, bam! Some players will fell off the chair in surprise. This is actually the gambit I showed before. It's called like this. And in America and so they also called it the Humphrey Bogart Gambit. And that's because in 1933 he was playing this. He was not only a very famous icon in movie star in America. He has been a head actor in the movie called Casablanca, for instance, where he also had a scene where he was playing chess, for instance, together with Ingrid Bergman. Yes, Ingrid Bergman, also a Swedish famous actor. And but he played this gambit, and I'm now going to talk a little bit about this gambit because it's dubious, it's very risky, and it is not so known, but it's not completely bad. It's surprising, and if your opponent don't know about this gambit, they can get badly hurted. If you have prepared yourself in this way. In rapid chess, in bullet chess, in blitz, I think it has a big suppress value and you can probably win. And in classical chess, it's more risky because people have more time. In this gambit, there are two ways for black to act, and some players are afraid to think, what is this? They get out of their comfort zone, so they don't dare to take this free pawn. So they try to play more soundly, like for instance d5, just to develop their pieces. Of course, you put, for instance, your pawn to g5, and mostly they play knight to e4, but then you have to play f3 to get rid of them, and now they can come back, so they have to go back like this. And in this position, you can try to play knight to c3 and take the center. For you get some compensation for the pawn in that you get the center and you get more development, of course. You come faster out of the opening. So you can also avoid it in another way, like for instance, if you put d4, that if they play h6. You can play knight c3, and if they play d5, you can play g4, and you come in a like trump position. Tromposky position, like knight c3, d5, g5, for instance, like Tromposky, sorry. I think about Trump all the time. I mean Tromposky, of course. Yes. But that's one of several ways, many of several ways to avoid to take the pawn. But if you want to have advantage as black, I think the best is to try to accept the gambit. Like always, if you accept the gambit, it's the best way. So you take on g4. And here there are some ways white could go. Knight c3, not so best. Bishop g2, for instance. But if you try to get compensation for the pawn, I think that e2, e4 is the best, because you take the center, you get control of all these squares here, and black has to lose time to get back his knight, actually. So it looks like, and here you can play plenty of things, but the best you can do here is not to go back here, because then white gets real compensation for the pawn, like e5, knight to d4, d5, and c4, for instance, knight b6, and here, like knight c3 or so, white has compensation in form of the center, development, and all that. So it's a little bit better for white here indeed. So you have to look at it. So we go back to this position like this, and e4, I think this is the strongest, in my opinion. And after that move, there are many ways for white to go ahead. Like, for instance, with some plays bishop g2 with knight to c3 and try to push in the middle. And there are also, but I think you could wait with the bishop and, for instance, play like in semi-style f3 and f6, knight c3, for instance. Or some has also played h3, it's quite common, and knight c3, and then knight f6, knight c3, and develop that way. I'm not sure that white gets full compensation, but at least initiative and in the beginning, yes. But after this move, which I think is the best way to start this gambit for black, one sound way is, for instance, bishop e2 for on all these cases, mostly the break on e5 is very good for black, and if you play this way, bishop e2, you have to play knight f6, first, and then knight to c3. I think that e5 now is good, and if the exchange here the coming and ending with the pawn more for black, and I think it's better for black indeed, like this. I just chose some variations. You also can take there are also like if you are a combinative player who likes to attack, there are also some ideas of bishop c4 in this way. Black, it's a sharp way to play, and black has to play very exact not to get worse, but it's a way to, you have to look at it, it's a way. Another way, which I think is quite good as well as black, as white, sorry, is to play for instance bishop g5, because in this opening the sorry, bishop e4, sorry, like this, d6, and then play bishop e5. This is what I wanted to show you. You can't play e5 because the boundary there. So this is a way for white to get some initiative for the pawn. So this is another way to play. All this you can see in the book. There are at least one chapter about accepted on taken g4 of this book. And the other side, you also have here, if you don't accept the pawn, but you want to play more safe as black, you can take a look at here too. Yes, and about a little bit about the history of this Giske Gambit. It was an American player whose name was Nakamura, but not the Grandmaster Nakamura, but Clyde Nakamura from Hawaii. He thought from beginning that he was the inventor of this gambit, but I think it was before him it started. He is a fan of this gambit, and he plays this quite a lot. Even surprisingly in correspondence chess, we have a theme tournament between 1983 and 1987, organized Sir Volker Drucker, who has organized a tournament about the team of Gibbon Widenhaber Gambit. And it was 16 players who played this in a tournament between 1983 and 1987, and I can just show you the result of the tournament. So you could perhaps find some of their games about this play on the internet. Yes. And yeah, and well, I know that Humphrey Bogart was a good chess player. He has about the strength. He had the strength that counted out about 2,100 kilo, something like that at that time. But it was when he was quite young, 1933, when I played against an anonymous chess player, but on quite a high rating. And he played this game, even so strong player as David Brainstorm has played it in a faster chess. So as you can see on the papers I have there, that it's quite a lot. So I will take you through a game that Humphrey Bogart won 1933 against anonymous in this Humphrey Bogart Gambit, or Gibbon's Wiedenhager Gambit. By the way, Gibbon, he was a chess player, and they think that he started to play this opening, but he has no notated games on the internet or in the history. Okay, we start the game now then, and of course Humphrey had white and played d4, and you already know today what the answer was. And here it comes, bam, again, bam, bam, bam. And black took, and here comes f3. It's said it's not, the best is to play f3 first, but this is not so bad, but it's a bit worse than e4, because you don't win a tempo in the same way. But still, it was like that. Then you go back with the knight, and now comes e4. So now you see, black has lost 2 tempi, the knight, but won a pawn, and white has the center. So long it is, but it's just in the beginning. So now you start to get some influence in the middle. And Bogart played bishop e3. And as this line is open, if you play g6, you get some protection if you want to fianchetto your bishop, and you protect your g line as well. But in the theory, with the internet machine and so forth, e5 was still a little bit better, and would have let black get slightly better position. Also e5, but g6 was played this time. Now, fast development is very important. Bishop g7, now it's only development. It looks like Pirc development or whatever, the same way, except that you miss your g pawn. Now, if black here, for instance, I play e5 instead of what he played, you would still have slightly better position, because he has a pawn more in a sound structure. But here he played knight c6. It's a bit less correct, because white now gets time to develop a pressure on the d5 against the queen and the undeveloped pieces over there. And now it threatens e5 with it could be a piece win, as there are a line loaded over there. So black castle to complete his development. Even here e5 was okay, yes. And now if white had played knight e2, it would have been better even if it's played e5 and d5, because it's more or less a close position where white could use the king side for attack, and it's much more difficult for black to attack on the queen side. So it would have been at least unclear or even in that case. But Humphrey played bishop d3, bishop d3 in this way. And still e5 came now, and now it's quite good. And d5 is of course essential, because if you exchange here, the bishop comes out and black gets a very good position. So d5 was necessary. But now black made the wrong decision, because if he had played bishop to d4 instead, he would have advantage, because then bishop d4, knight e2, exchange, and f5 as some would be good for black. But he played bishop b4 instead. No, knight to b4 instead. And bishop c4. Now he must play a5 to try to protect the knight so it can retreat and have some protection for that. And also start to get space on the queen side. a3 came, and here you have to retreat, right? And now, if white had played knight to e2 and developed here, it would have been an even race, but it played Humphrey played h4 instead. And here, bishop d7 with queen e8 and expansion on queen side would have been better for black, but black h4, yes. But black instead played knight h5, and now comes this, because to protect here. Sorry, here is f5 comes, and here had bishop d7 been much better indeed. But f5 came, and white should have exchanged over there. Rook takes, and then knight to e4, and it would have been an even fight. But after f5, white made a mistake as well and played bishop g5, because it's not the best move. And here black could have had advantage with queen to e8 and to play f4 and attack on the king side instead. But worse was bishop f6, which black played. And now comes a surprisingly interesting move. What would you play as white in this position? It's a positional move, but it's a very strong one. It's f4, for instance. It stops the attack. You can't open the line as well. Now it's white who can open a line. And he made it so black played edge take f4, which is beginning of a wrong plan. So it was an exchange here. Takes, and takes. This was first, but now it's a little bit better for white because he's got all his pieces over on the king's side and here is nothing going on. But still there are some problems for white, and still if you take here, which black did, now black still has chances because there is a hidden threat with the rook, the bishop, and over here. So it's not here. Black could have no. White should have react with knight takes e4 instead. That had been the best, and then it would have been slightly better for black. Instead, white played bishop h6, and here black missed his chance because if black takes on c3, then white has to take the rook, and after this exchange they come in an ending where black is much better. But instead black played rook to e8, that's a bad move. And white played rook to e4, no, knight to e4, sorry, knight to e4. And now comes another bad move, bishop g7. This move loses for black. Instead, bishop e5 would have lead to queen f3 and a little bit better, bishop f5 and a little bit better for white, that's all. But instead, played bishop g7. That's a losing move because now you exchange, king takes, and then come. Now starts the attack, and there is not much hope left now because the attack is going through now. Bishop f5, threatening mate with taking, they're taking a check here and mate there. So that's why bishop f5, last search for survival. But of course, you take here, bishop takes here, check, king e8, and now the last kill, you could say. Now it's threatening check, take on g6 and mate on h8 or so. So black tried desperately to protect over there, but it's much too late because this exchange, h takes, and now the rest is easy. Queen over there and mate. And this was a game of Humphrey Bogart. I don't think it was so bad, even if black made some severe mistakes. But there are at least three, four occasions where black could have got better game. But when you play man to man on a chessboard, and the watch is ticking, and the psychological mind kicks in, and it's a bit of the role in the fight for victory. So in this case, this gambit treating it well, but this gambit also shows that there are some compensation for black in many places. So it's a very risky opening, and I have looked a little bit on the internet about this gambit, and there is an international master called Midori Peronovic. Butchers. I don't know if I pronounce his name right, but he has a clip about the Gibeon Wiedenhager Gambit or Humphrey Bogart Gambit, and you can see the clip on 38 minutes here on the left side. I like this gambit, but it's very risky, and I can only use it as a surprise weapon when the right moment comes. Thank you for me.